Welcome to another episode of Breaking It Down with Boston. I am so excited to be back with you today to continue our conversation on investing and finance. And I did promise on the last episode that I'm going to have a very knowledgeable person joining me. And guess what? He's here. None other than Dante Morton. This is my really good friend. He's actually the person who God worked through to get me and a number of our coworkers into investing. He is almost 20 years younger than I am, and that could tell you how smart he is too. But Dante, welcome to Breaking It Down with Boston, and I am so excited to have you here with us to share with our audience.
Awesome. Good afternoon, Cleone. As Cleone mentioned, my name is Dante Morton. I'm 32 years old. I started my investing journey right after college when I started my career. And, I had a good bit of people that I surrounded myself with, Cleone included, where we had a knowledge share group. And investing was one of those things that came up. I learned about it, and therefore I shared that knowledge with my coworkers as well. So good afternoon, and I'm happy to be here.
Excellent. Well, Dante, breaking down with Boston, we are talking about sharing information, empowering our audience to dream big, empowering them to trust God on life's journey, empowering them to believe that wherever they are now on their financial journey does not have to be their final destination, that they can set goals, they can make decisions, and they can work towards the life that they want. And so having you on today to share with them part of your journey as an investor, a young man who's married, have a family, has a 18-month-old Malik. And guess what, guys? Guess who is an investor? He can't even pronounce the word yet, but Malik is an investor. So I'm not making it up when I tell you that there is no late time to start. There's no time that's too early and there's no time that's too late. The right time is now.
That's correct.
So Dante, let's go. Share.
All right. So as I mentioned earlier, I started right out of college. So as I was reading what to do with some excess money that I had, being that, I lived with my dad at that time, I decided to start investing. And with that, there's a lot of knowledge that I gained on my own. And, that said, I wish someone taught me about investing beforehand. And what I like to do is, share information that I find knowledgeable so that other people don't have to go out and find that information for themselves. Yes, you should do your own homework afterward, but just getting that information, that initial information is key, knowledge sharing. So that said, I have some good scenarios that I'd like to share with you in terms of how your money can grow over time, and time being the best thing that helps your money grow by compounding. And just one moment, sharing my screen.
Beautiful.
And what we have here is just a simple investment calculator. What you put in this calculator is initial investment. So if you wanted to start investing, you have some excess cash that you can deposit towards your investment account. You can then put that number in this first line. Additional investment contributions is, say, if you want to contribute a certain amount monthly, whether it's $100, $200, $300 or more, you can just enter that in the calculator here. Keep in mind, it's going to be a straight line contribution. Of course, you can put more in at a particular time. Let's say you have bonus, or less. Let's say, you have something that comes to be a priority where you can't invest the current month, but just so you know, this is just a straight line calculation as to each month. Lastly is how many years you want to put into the scenario. So whether it's 10 years just to see what your money could look like in 10 years, or 30 years, which is after, say, a 30-year career. Or let's say 15 years, let's say you're close to retirement. And like we said, that's not too late to start, but this is just a basis for so you can calculate what your end result could look like by putting in a specific amount of money that is geared towards your situation. Lastly is the expected rate of return. Now, I have here 10%, and that 10% comes from the average S&P 500, which takes into account the average return since the S&P 500 was formed in 1957. And essentially that's a compounding of how much the money has grown each year since that started. So we can just use that as a basis for future growth, but that can easily change as the years go on. It could increase, it could decrease, but just by nature, we're just using an average for that.
And
So
Dante,
mhm,
as you put in that number, I think when you and I started investing, that number, that growth rate of return was lower.
that's correct. So
Yeah.
that said, being that it has increased, that means our expected returns would have generated more, which is
Oh,
even
yeah.
better. But
Yeah.
what we want to do is just remember to just be conservative. So if we want, you could still put 7 or 8%. And then if it goes higher, that's even better. What you don't want to do here is overestimate the return because let's say you use 20%, for example, and it goes, ends up being lower, then, you'll be expecting that amount that you had in that calculator and you might be disappointed. So it's always best to be just conservative. And that said, if you're a person that can contribute $300 a month, let's say you wanted to just see what that money could look like over 10 years with that 10% average rate of return. If you look at this right side, you'll see that you would have contributed $36,000 over a 10-year span. And this total interest is the amount of money that your funds have gained in value for that period. So here being almost $24,000. So your total amount of your $36,000 investment turns into $60,000. Are you
Wow.
understanding that, Cleon? Are you seeing
Wow.
how that money has grown?
Wow. That's why I'm sitting here and saying wow, because I've said this when we started talking about investing, that you put money aside, you make it consistent. So every month, whatever your budget is, you do it. And here it is, now you're seeing it. Because when I said that to them, I didn't pull up a calculator, I didn't put it in. So now to watch it and say, wow, you putting $300 a month, and here it is, you have now almost $60,000, over 30 something plus $1,000 extra that you didn't put in.
That's correct.
Now, let me ask you a question. Where has that initial investment spot? Because for everybody that knows me, know my girls, I've been investing for them. So I can put 5,000 in that initial investment. This is like a scenario about Alexis, because I started her Roth, not her regular investment account. And it has now accumulated to where she has about $5,000 in it. And she moved back home. And for everyone who watched the initial episode, know that I charge her rent. But guess what? I don't really need her money. So I charge her this money. I charge her $300. And that's what jogged my mind, Dante, because you use a $300 figure. I charge her $300, but instead of keeping it, I put it in her account every single month. Now, Alexis is 24, and that's in her Roth. So that's what, 24, 34, 44, 54. That's like 35 years. So try that number there for growth, because she can't touch it until then.
Sounds good. So yeah, so as Cleon mentioned, she's referring to a retirement account. So one of the caveats to retirement accounts is you can't touch it until a certain age. And with that, that means that this money will grow over 35 years. And based off of the
Oh,
criteria that we put in there, 5,000 as the initial investment and $300 a month over 35 years. Sorry, last thing, we're keeping that 10% average rate of return. And with that said, she would have contributed $131,000, but her value of that
one.
with the compounding interest ends up being $1.16 million.
Wow.
Crazy to think about.
Wow. You know, I can't wait for Alexis to see this, right? She's gonna be like, Mom, you put my business all over the street. I could tell her now. But man, and I didn't even do that for her. Like to see it. $1.16 million from putting in 131,000 over a 35-year period. Guys, this is no joke. That is one of the reasons why I was so excited when Dante wanted to share this calculator, so that you can have not just hearing the knowledge now, but have a visual, a vision, a clear vision as to how your money can work for you. Now, how old is Malik, Dante?
Malik is 18 months.
18 months. Can
Not
you
even 2 yet.
imagine what it would look like if Dante's even putting $100 for Malik? Come, let's Dante, take out that initial payment, putting $100 for Malik, or 200 if you know you'll put in, but if you want, just leave it at 100, you know, it might fluctuate. And he got a lot of years to retirement.
Yep. So let's say you know, he keeps on the track. He starts putting in his own money, $100 a month. And
$100.
remember, we're talking something that I think everyone can do, $100 a month. That ends
$100.
up being $1.4 million, and he would have only contributed $60,000.
And that's time. You said it at the beginning. You said time is our biggest friend.
That's
You
correct.
said that. This is a perfect example of our $100 goes in an account for years, 50 years. This person saying, you know what, you could retire off of this. $100 that
And
you save.
and only giving up $60,000.
You only putting aside 60,000 and you now have $1.459 million from $100 a month for how young he is. Guys, this is real. This calculator isn't something we invented. It is real.
That's
It is
correct.
showing you. It is showing you. It is real.
Yep. So as we went through this calculator, you know, this is all scenario based. So what I would encourage you to do is launch your own calculator, put in figures that you find reasonable as for your initial investment. And if you don't have an initial investment, just put in your expected monthly contributions and you will see the growth right before your eyes, using 10% as that expected rate of return. Now, getting into more specifics in terms of how you invest how you invest into ETFs and mutual funds, which are great ways to diversify your funds and spread your risk. I'll show you the Vanguard 500 Index Fund, which is an exchange traded fund, or ETF for short. What you'll see here is that this emulates the S&P 500, which you'll find many of these on different platforms. So Charles Schwab would have a 500 index, Fidelity would have a 500 index, and they're all more or less the same, similar expected rates of return. But you'll want to find one of those as just a beginner's guide to start investing. Some more specifics on here, you'll see that each share of this VU is $459.03. So that means that you can put in that amount of money to buy one share, but there is also options where you can buy partial shares. So don't let that be a limitation for you either. There's also platforms where you can buy partial shares. the main point of this is just to start investing, as Cleon has emphasized. Anything from you, Cleon?
No, show them, Dante, that ETF, that VU, that ETF. When you buy that, is it just something VU you getting, or you getting a bunch of companies?
That's the and I can't think of the word. That's the benefit of investing in an exchange traded fund or a mutual fund. You buy shares of a ton of different companies. So that same fund that I showed you, VOO, which is that ticker in Yahoo Finance, VOO, you'll see that that's comprised of 504 individual companies. So when you buy one of those shares, you're essentially buying Microsoft, Apple, Nvidia, and a host of other different companies. So now you go from owning nothing to owning 500 companies.
Absolutely. And that is what I wanted them to see. Like, it's incredible, guys. Microsoft by itself is 300 and something dollars. Apple is $182. And Amazon is 100 and either 50 or $60. Google 150 or 170. I'm mixing those up. Tesla $200. Like, if you want to buy those at individual funds, you have to buy all of those or partial shares of each one. But
Yep.
here it is, you buy this ETF, and it's comprised of all these companies that you now are considered an owner of. It's incredible. Like, it's incredible. And you've seen how your money can work. You've seen it. You are able to realize that it is just a decision as to what you want to do and what you want to accomplish when it comes to your finances. So that is what I wanted them to see, Dante, that exact screen right there.
I totally agree with your sentiments. And again, the benefits of investing in an ETF or a mutual fund is being able to own a portfolio of companies. But then also it's a little more hands off. So if you're not ready to invest in individual stocks, which say Apple would be an individual stock, Microsoft would be an individual stock, this is a great way to spread your risk, and be almost hands off because it's managed by a fund. So
Correct.
you have professionals who do this day in, day out. They know the economy. They're essentially making those decisions for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm so excited about that.
That's right. That's how we started. And now we're picking individual stocks, but I would never go back to not investing in an ETF. I still have some in my retirement plans, um, and my individual brokerage account.
And
Uh,
Dante, you just said something. Sorry to cut you. You
no
said you
worries.
have some in your retirement plan and in your individual brokerage account. When I first started with my audience, I said the same thing. You can set up a Roth, a retirement account. You can set up a individual account. You just recently relocated from the Virgin Islands and started your career in the continental US. You were able to construct your new home. Did having your investment account help you? How did that play a role
Oh
in
yeah. So
making your new
so
home?
at that time when we decided to move, I didn't have enough in my savings, so I accessed my brokerage account, which is separate from my retirement account. So although, retirement is for a specific purpose, I don't want to just limit myself to retirement funds. So with a brokerage account, it's essentially using the same investment channels that you can access at any given time and not be based off of, sorry, not having the limitations of, being a specific age to access. So whenever we needed our down payment, I just sold off some stocks, and that gave us a way to make a 20% down payment along with some savings that we had.
Excellent. And that was what I didn't just not want to put your business on the street, but that is exactly what I was trying to get to. That
I
you
mean, I'm
you
here
were
to encourage
investing.
people like this is real money that you can use to create a lifestyle for yourself,
Bingo.
plan for the future, uh, and build generational wealth, as you mentioned. That's one
Correct.
of the goals that I had for myself at that age. I know many people probably have that goal and you're just wondering how you get started. And this is, I think, a great way to get started.
Absolutely. I mean, just being able to say, you know what, hun, you got your plans drawn up, construct your home, get your 20% down, and being able to access funds that were put in place from the time you were like 20, 21, 22 years old. And you
Yeah,
can bet that the money you put in, you got far more out of it because of that rate of return over the years. So you didn't have to sell every stock that you own in order to access that those funds to equal that 20%.
that's
So
right.
that's the power. That's the power of compounding your money. That's the power of rate of return on your investment. That's the power of it.
And you better believe I'm going to continue contributing too. So although you might, end up needing to sell off some shares at some point, you should still continue going away at it by making your contributions, making that sacrifice to plan for your future. And, if you have to redo a calculation with the calculator based off of your current lifestyle and situation, go ahead and do that. It's always good to plan ahead.
And we did that. We did that for when we were first starting to build our second home that's under construction. We were able to access some funds from one of our brokerage accounts to be able to give us some leverage to get some stuff constructed. And so when we are sharing this information, it's real life. It's stuff you can you can apply it to your life and see it interact. That was the power of this calculator of saying whether you put in $100, whether you put in 300 is like what I put in for Alexis, whether you are working and can afford even more, do it. Do it. It's just about getting started. Do it. And Dante, you mentioned that there are several platforms, that they can research and use to be able to establish their accounts on. I mean,
Yep.
several. I mentioned some, and I know you and I talked offline, and you had a list as well. Beautiful.
Yep. So what I would implore you to do is just Google brokerage accounts or IRA accounts and find a platform that you like. They're all more or less the same, but there's different benefits to each, such as the education that they have on the platforms, the interfaces, etc. Your employer might use a specific one, for example, for your 401ks. So just do some research, find a brokerage that works for you and just get started. Now, going back to something that I just reminded myself about is the investment vehicles, which are your retirement accounts, which individually you can do a Roth IRA or traditional IRA, and then separately the brokerage account, which is there's no limitations on those in terms of when you can pull out money. For the retirement accounts, if your employer has a contribution factor, I would employ you to take advantage of it. If they have a 2% match, a 5% match, put in that money so you can maximize that match. You don't necessarily need to do any more than that if you don't want to, but take advantage of the free money. That's essentially doubling it just from that principal value.
Absolutely. I'm happy you mentioned that because that was one of the things I specified on the last episode. Take advantage of that match. That's free money. That's free money. I remember when the WNBA had their meetings and they said that they were talking about their retirement plan. And my husband asked, and he's like, "Do you guys do a match?" And they were like, "Yeah, 25%." I went to Aliyah, I said, "When you get those forms, just fill out the max, 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 max." She's like, "I don't understand what you mean, but okay." And she did. she did, because that's free money. Guys, that's free
Money
money
that the company is encouraging you to
to
plan for
invest.
retirement.
Yes, to invest.
Now that actually brings up another good point. So I've had a few employers that have 401ks, and when they make the contributions and when you make your contributions, typically it might be into cash or a specific investment that doesn't really have growth. So I would encourage you to go into your portfolio and make your election as to what funds you want to participate in that provides the growth that you're looking for.
Excellent. And that means research, like just read. And now, guess what? You have a platform that you can ask questions. We can't advise you, but you can say, hey, what are your thoughts? Or if you come across some research and you're not sure if you're looking at it the right way, you have a platform where you can ask questions. And we will do our very best to answer you. And if I don't know the answer, I'll find someone else who does. We're not wealth advisors, but we can give you our, interaction based on the questions that you ask. But Dante was the first person that told me that, because our 401ks, they allowed us to pick it at a company that we work for. So we could go in and pick the investments that they have. And I'm like, Dante, I don't know a damn thing about this stuff. How do I, and you're like, yes, Cleo, we're gonna read this. And we did. We did, and we didn't make such bad choices. Okay, let me just fix that. I made some bad choices, but then he helped me and then I got better. But I kid you not. I kid you not. You will learn and you will grow, and now you have a platform where you can ask your questions. So there's no reason to say I'm lost or I don't know. Just ask. Just ask. I promise you. Just ask.
And just do some homework, just do some reading on it. Look up, whatever questions that you have, you can always find the answer on Google and find reputable sources for information. And like we said
Absolutely.
from the beginning, that's how we got started, just reading on our own. We didn't have people to guide us. So the research that we did led us to where we are now. And although you're getting the information and a little shortcut to it, I would still encourage you to just continue reading.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Dante, I can't thank you enough. Like, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to share with our audience, to give them this visual impact as to how saving and investing can help them, sharing a little bit of your personal life. So we know that they know that I'm not just talking, that we actually do that. You surround yourself, the Bible says iron sharpens iron. You surround yourself with people who's going to help you push for your goals and dreams and allow you to dream big. I mean, who would think you could put such a little bit amount of money and bam. Dante, one other example before we leave. Go back
Yep.
to the calculator. And what about a person who's 40 years old, maybe 45, and they got 10 years or 15 years? They could only put in $300. Like, their money still grows, even though they have a lower amount of time.
Yeah, their money's still going to grow from them. That's for sure. Just because of that rate of return, that's going to be the thing that the time and rate of return, that's going to be the thing that significantly impacts your growth rate. And if you were at 45, you're going to retire when you're 60, that leaves 15 years left. And at 10%, $300 monthly contributions, you would ideally have put in $54,000, and you would have more than doubled that over that 10-year period, sorry, 15-year period to
Bingo,
$120,000 almost.
bingo. So that's what I'm talking about. Our biggest asset is time. But sometimes we want to look at, oh, I don't have 20 years like them, or I don't have 30 years like them, I don't have 40 years. No, look at the years you do have and still look at the benefit that you can have. You put in $54,000 and you more than doubled, 119,000.
Yeah.
Double. So
And that does come with some, sacrifices. So,
yeah,
factor in investing into your budget, factor in your retirement contributions into your budget, because it does take some sacrifices for delayed gratification.
absolutely. Delayed gratification. Do what other people won't do so that you can have what other people won't, because you made a decision to change your financial future. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday, it happens what you do today. Dante, thank you so much for taking the time. To
It
my
was a
audience,
pleasure.
I truly, truly, truly hope that this information that was shared for you to have the opportunity to see this calculator at work will make a difference in how excited you get about investing and seeing your money work for you. Again, I want to remind you that if you make the sacrifices now, you are setting the path and the tone for your future. You are setting the path and your tone for your future. When people control your finances, they control when you eat, what you eat, when you travel, where you travel to, and how you travel. They control everything. They control everything. So you take that control and you make a difference in your life and in your family's life. So I want to continue to encourage you to like this video, to share it with your friends, your family, your co-workers, and let them join you on your journey for financial freedom. And please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Dante, again, I cannot thank you enough for sharing on this platform. I appreciated you all the way back then because you were such an instrumental part of my journey, and I appreciate you sharing with my audience today. I love you all. I don't know what else to say except thank you, thank you, thank you. And I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of Breaking It Down with Boston.
Thank you
Dante,
so much, Leon.
you're welcome. Thank you. God bless you all.